Brewery De Plukker, Rookop. Brewery De Plukker, Rookop. Fuck's sake.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I've got one here from Belgium and it is the De Plukker Brewery Rookop Brune. Fucking hell, this is so dusty. I got this in Beers of Europe and the cap, I should have shown you it, but it's covered in dust. And I'm hoping this isn't covered in, look, it's on the bottle as well, look. I'm hoping it's not covered in dust because people don't like it. But it is a beer from a relatively new brewer from Belgium. But what I like about this is what drew me to it was they put the hops they're using on the label on the front, which is unusual for a Belgian brewer. That is until you look at the region in Belgium where they come from. Now, I don't know if you can see this on the label, but on there you can see oh look, the fucking autofocus, you bastard! You're going into fucking landfill, and this new fucking lenses as well. There you go. Oh, fuck off! Jesus, really? There you go, Lois. Right, pop orange. Can you see that? Right, that is the hop growing region of Belgium, and it's in a place called Ypres. Now, if you're familiar with that name, you obviously know your World War I history. If you're not familiar with that name, you've probably seen it around. It's spelled Y-P-R-E-S. Most British soldiers at the time called it wipers. Not many people in the United Kingdom or English speaking people can pronounce that correctly. I'm not trying to fucking lord that over everyone because I used to struggle pronouncing it as well, but that's how it's pronounced. And there is quite a good brewing tradition there. The reason being is because that is the hop growing region of Belgium. And what's unique about this lot is they are situated next to a farm or on a farm that grows the only organic hops in Belgium. Now that's some feat, in my opinion. You consider the amount of beer that Belgium produces. They obviously use hops in a lot of their stuff. They even import hops from Kent in the United Kingdom. And that's why I like beers from this region, because they do put an emphasis on the hops, which makes a change from the usual Belgian fare. Now don't get me wrong, I haven't got a problem with the stuff the Belgians brew at the moment. In fact, it's probably one of my favourite countries for brewing beer, along with Germany. But this lot, they do put an emphasis on the hops, and rightly so. If you look on the label again, I'm going to try and get this fucking autofocus. I'll tell you what, I've got that landfill number on speed dial. It says Hop Farm Brewery, and that's got a lot in common with where I live at the moment in Kent. There's a lot of hop farms over here, so you know there is some commonality there. What I will say about this brewery, and it intrigues me because I do like to do a bit of research on the beers beforehand. They are from a place called Rijnengelst, which is a tiny village in Belgium, not too far from Ypres. Now, most people wouldn't have heard of that. I certainly never heard of that until I was doing research for the book I wrote about my great uncle's regiment in the First World War, and they were billeted there for a few weeks actually during, I think it was 1915. it was crazy. If you look at the war diary, they go to Rheingelst on the retreat, and they also go back there when they're on the offensive in 1918. So you can see just how very small a region the First World War was fought over. Certainly on the Western Front, anyway. I should make that clear. And Rheingelst and all these regions were heavily shelled. And considering this is the big hop producing region of Belgium, if you've ever heard of the expression the iron harvest, it's basically all the farmers in this region, when they're ploughing the land, they always turn up expended munitions and some unexploded munitions as well. And I don't want to get too much into it because I'm trying to review this beer, but I want to get this information across because it's fascinating. But a lot of farmers have been actually killed ploughing their own land, where they've put a plough through an unexploded shell, or even gas as well. You know, they've gone through gas shells and just released, you know, poisonous gas, and it's just killed them instantly. So, you know, these people that are, you know, cultivating this land, they're not your average farmer, put it that way. So I don't want to get too much involved in that, just to say this is quite a new brewery. They've been going since 2011. They've taken this recipe on from a brewery that I think they stopped brewing in 1963. They found the recipe and they've carried it on from 2011. So I think that's brilliant. So without further ado, let's see how good this beer really is. Right, I'm going to get it open now, and because it's warming up a little bit because I've been gassing so much and this room's quite warm as well. It's a plain red cap, there's nothing to see on here. I'll go through the ABV and everything as I'm doing it. It is 6.5% and it's a 330ml bottle. It is a brewing or brown Belgian ale. I'm going to get it into the tulip glass because that is the supposed glass that this should be drunk out from. Belgian brown ales can be hit or miss. I've had some good ones and I've had some pretty damn bad ones as well. The first bad one that springs to mind is the Leffe. There you go. As I say, the hops in here are Pilgrim and Goldings hops. Goldings, of course, they're a typical British hop, assuming that they mean the East Kent Goldings. Now that is the style of, or that is the brand of hops that is imported from the United Kingdom for Belgian beers. So I'm assuming it's going to be something like that. And Pilgrim hops as well are a British style hop too. So you're going to get lots of earthiness, lots of spiciness as well. So I'm not expecting too much Belgian character from this, but I could be wrong. So, what are we getting on the nose? Oh, there's actually some quite big malt character coming through there. Quite nutty as well. Aromas are a bit flattened. Either that or I've got COVID, one of the two. But to be honest, all I'm getting is nutty caramel malt, which does smell quite nice. So, there it is in the glass. The head is slightly disappointing. The colour is very, very dark brown, which you would expect. There is a fair amount of carbonation in that. Let's get it down my fat Gregory Peck. Bottoms up. Wow, that's really nice. Oh, that's lovely. That is really good. That is a cross between a British brown ale and a bitter, and it tastes absolutely great. Oh, it's lovely. It's absolutely gorgeous. Brilliant. There is big caramel and toffee malt on this. Very reminiscent of a Tyne and Wear brown ale. Then you've got quite a bit of fruit on that too. It's reminiscent of black cherry, raisins, and maybe sultanas on that. There's a little sweetness on that too. There's a nutty caramel malt, as I said before, that just lingers and lingers. And on the back end, this is where it really comes into its own. It's got like an earth and spice bitterness, which is reminiscent of a British style bitter. Now, if I didn't know better, I would say this was a very highly carbonated Boilermaker or brown split, which is basically a British bitter halved or blended with a brown ale, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It's sweeter, I will say that. I think they've put some candy sugar in this, so if you can imagine a brown split with a little bit of sugar in it, but not your refined sugar. It's that candy sugar style flavour. But I have to say, this is absolutely gorgeous. I really like it. Oh, it's lovely. It's fucking lovely. This was really cheap as well. This was at the bargain end of Beers of Europe. And look, if you look on the side here, they put that on the side, 100% Belgian hops. And do you know what? They have made a big thing about it, them being a hop farm, which has really made this into a British style beer, because that's what the Brits do. We like to emphasise the hops on our dark ales, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's the perfect balance between sweetness, malt and hops. It's lovely. That is absolutely fantastic. And do you know what? I have reviewed three or four beers tonight. I've reviewed the Arkle Amber Ale. I've reviewed the Mernshoff Bock beer, which was really good. Don't get me wrong, that was really nice for the price. But I have to say, this has stolen the fucking show. And it's such an inconspicuous bottle as well. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, if you're a fan of Belgian beer, you may be a little bit disappointed. You may think, well, there's no Belgian character in this. There isn't. There's no spice, or Belgian spice, as I like to refer to it, which is white pepper. There's no herbal notes, the coriander. There's none of that at all. This is all about the malts, the big caramel toffee malt, the bitter hop finish on the end, which is earthy and spicy, as you would expect from the Goldings hops and the Pilgrim hops that they put in there. But there's also a bit of the candy sugar, which rounds everything off nicely and accentuates the caramel and toffee malt. And I have to say, this is really good. In fact, I go as far as to say this is probably the best Belgian brown ale I've tasted so far. Oh, it's lovely. That is brilliant. So what's the verdict on De Plukker Brewery Rookop Brune? That is a fucking winner. I don't care who you are or what beers you like, that is lovely. Now, don't get me wrong, I love me Belgian beers, but this is one that I think a lot of British brewers who, and you know, brown ale is not fashionable, but I'll tell you something, if a British brewer brewed a beer like this, they could be very proud if they called it a brown ale, because do you know what I would say? That is a very good attempt. But for a Belgian brewer to do it, call it a brewing as well. Now, I've tasted as I said before, I've tasted quite a few Belgian brown ales. They're very hit and miss. There's been a few good ones. The Castile Brewing is pretty good. The Leffer Brewing, I don't think that was good at all. This stuff, on the other hand, what I like about it is they've made a big thing about the hops, because they are a hop farm. It's not about the yeast with this lot, it's about the hops. And it's very reminiscent of a British brown ale. A sweet, nutty British brown ale. And it's really good. You know, if you're a big brown ale fan, you might think this is a bit too sweet, because I think they put some candy sugar in it. But for me, this is a really nice beer. This is the best beer of the night. I think it eclipses the Bock beer from Mernschhoff, which I thought was really good. This for me is the beer of the night. That is 10 out of 10. I absolutely love that. That is brilliant. I recommend this. It's cheap. I think it's under £3 on Beers of Europe. This was covered in dust, so it means that people aren't buying it. People, you're missing out. You need to try this stuff. This is brilliant. And remember, beer is working class champagne.